I do have one announcement. That's kind of loud. We're not going to have Wednesday night services this coming week. Most of us will be at baccalaureate, so and that starts at 7. So we have tried in the past to make both of them happen, and it don't work real well. So, but anyway, a lot of us, a lot of seniors in the church, so most of us will be at the gym. So, but anyway, just want to make that announcement for you guys. But then we'll just go ahead and get started the next Wednesday as normal. But this Wednesday night, we will be at baccalaureate and no services. So, just kind of be planning ahead. We'll get everybody in the right place. Well, good morning. It's good to see you this morning. You know, most of us know what today is, that we celebrate Mother's Day. And the title of my sermon this morning is A Virtuous Woman. And I just want to ask you a few things this morning. I always seem to start my sermons with some questions. This might get me in trouble, but what would you say makes the perfect woman? Now, don't have to answer that. Please don't answer that. Just kind of keep that in your mind. Keep it in your mind. You know, some of you I could see the elbows going or something, or the looks. But anyway, what makes the perfect woman? You know, in the world, we look at beauty, or maybe the shape of the body. I mean, that's as far as I'm going with that. But we do. There's a stigma out there that there's a model, basically, that the world says this is the perfect woman. Okay, and we all know that, especially in high school, girls try to mimic what the world says makes the perfect woman, or the make boys like them. We have all these things that the world says you have to be this way to have value. To have value. A plastic surgeon once said, he goes, I can make the most beautiful woman on the outside, but I can do nothing for her on the inside. You know, and that's the superficial, that so many times we work, whether you're a man or a woman, we work so hard on the outside and put little effort on the inside. See, the thing about it, that what's on the inside is what matters the most. What's on the inside? What when you take all the layers away, like I said, whether you're a man or a woman, what is there? What is your core? What is your foundation? Okay? That's what's important. When we have a base and a foundation on God the Father, everything else comes together. See, we get it backwards. A lot of times I even heard people say, when I get things together, I'll start coming to church. Well, you may never go to church, because how many of us got it all together? Right? We don't. See, the church is full of broken people, the people that are being healed, and we're a work in progress. And we need to quit listening to the way the world says where your value comes from, and start believing in where true value comes from. And that comes from a relationship with God. See, God the Father created you. He made each and every one of you an individual, right? You're your own person. Unless you're an identical twin, nobody else looks like you, right? God made each person special just the way they are. And see, we need to grab a hold of that and think about what does God see? Beauty truly comes from within. And I want to go to 1 Peter next, to 1 Peter 3 and 4. It says, whose adorning let it not be that of outward adorning, or plaiting of the hair, or the wearing of gold, or putting on of apparel, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price. And what it's saying here says the most important thing is what's truly on the inside. You know, there's a lot of beautiful people to look at that are very ugly on the inside, that they're empty on the inside. I always kind of look at the tabloids, I guess, when you're standing in line at Walmart or something, some of the headlines. You ever read those stories, and you're like, you're standing there for 20 minutes, what else are you going to do, right? But I look at that because that's who we're supposed to mimic. That's who we're supposed to be our role models. That's who we're supposed to mimic our lives after, right? The movie stars and the sports athletes and all those people. And I tell you what, when you look at the Inquirer and those magazines, you kind of get a picture of what their life truly is. All the money and all the success and all the power, all of those things, it didn't make them happy. their life's an absolute mess. And when you read in the First Peter, it says, don't look at the shiny things. Look what's on the inside. Some of the most beautiful people in the world doesn't say is pretty. God sees us for who we are and what we can be. See, that's the difference than what the world is. God knows our potential. God knows that there's so much more that we could be doing in our life, that our life could mean so much more if we would allow Him to be the potter and us be the clay. And Him to mold us into the image that He would like us to be. Because what does He want us to be? Like Him. Molded after His image. Think about Jesus and His characteristics of who He was. He was love, patience. Anybody got patience? Right? Kindness. All of those things. Some of those things are not characteristics that people strive for in the workplace today, right? Think about the qualifications it is for you to get ahead most of the time in the corporate world. Is it taking after someone else? Helping someone else? No. It's a selfish world. What I want to get to this morning is we look at things in the wrong ways. What makes the perfect woman? Well, I tell you what, one thing to me is a mother is one of those examples because of their sacrifice and their selflessness of what they do each and every day. There's so many things that a mom does that we take for granted and we don't realize all the things that she truly does to take care of her children. And I want to read, and I want to go to Proverbs 31. There's even a ministry that got started. You ever heard 31's ministry? Proverbs 31. But I'm just going to read these verses here, and I'm going to read starting in verse 10, and I'm going to go through 31, and it just basically describes what they would call the perfect woman, but it also talks about all of those things that she does on a day-to-day basis that sometimes we overlook. But it says, who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. She is like the merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. She considers a field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth the vineyard. She girdeth her loins with strength, and strengtheneth her arms. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth not out by night. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold to the shaft. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all of her household are clothed with scarlet. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry, her clothing is silk and purple. Her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. She maketh fine linens and selleth it, and delivereth girdles to the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. Her children arise up, call her blessed. Her husband also, as he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hand, and let her own works praise her in the gates. This kind of gives us the list of how a woman provides for her family. She works diligently to take care of them, that she's up early in the morning, goes to bed late at night, and she sees that they're clothed, that they're fed. It's important, that job. In a society, in a world that puts families down, puts motherhood down, I want you to know that is a very precious job. That is a job that so many times is overlooked, even looked down upon, and especially in this current world, in this age. I want to read you a few things here. This gives 22 points, basically, in these verses that I just read to you. But it says, Let me get my eyes focused in. Um, she is rare, trustworthy, consistent to her love, industrious, thrifty, self-starting, enterprising, willing to do hard work, willing to work long hours, willing to do monotonous work. She's compassionate. She prepared for the future, a good seamstress, married to a leader, an entrepreneur, not swayed by circumstances, wise and kind, duty conscious, blessed by her family, not satisfied with mediocre, a woman of God, and praiseworthy. She is a woman of means and a woman of great skills and ability. It's important for have a mother. And the jobs that they do, the things that they do each and every day, what would our households be like without them? Right? There would be a spot missing. I know that each one of us could have stories about our moms, and so often we forget about it. It's just her job, right? That's just what she's supposed to do. That's her calling. Today, like today's, is to honor moms. Today is one of those times to sit back and just to reflect upon how much we need a mom. We need someone that loves us and cares for us unconditionally. How often, growing up as a teenager, that you deserve to be loved. Whether we had a bad attitude or mouthy or Katie, she's little. But here lately, it's everything that we say she's got an opinion on. That kind of comes par with the course, right? I think about that as so often that we look at a mom as a unconditional love, because there's times that we shouldn't be loved, right? For the way we're acting, if the way that the world sees things, right? Love is important always. We need to see that, especially in the moms and what they do. And I know you read these, I read this list here, these 22 points, and you go, wait a minute, there's a whole lot of them things I don't do. I don't know how to do. I'm not sure I want to do, right? I mean, we'll be honest, whether you're a man or a woman, I can't sew, so it wouldn't be good for me, right? I took it in home ec. Mrs. Birch, I think, was glad when I left sewing class. She still mentions that once in a while when I see her. But I want you to think about, how do we become, I'm focusing on the women or the mothers, but I think this goes for every person, man or woman. How do we become what we need to become? Because we're all a work in progress, and wherever you're at on the scale, we need some improvement. I think each and every one of us, if we're honest, could say, I need some improvement of how I live life, how I approach life, how I do with my family, with my friends, with my church family. How do I do those things? Because I think when I read this, maybe I'm falling a little bit short. The thing about it is we got to trust God to lead us. We got to let go of this I've got this, I'm in control attitude, and realize I'm not. And I need some help. I need some guidance. And see, the most important instructions that we could possibly ever receive is that from God the Father, God above, the one that created us. So I think it's important that we go to Psalms 143. Because there's going to be tough times. There's times that we don't understand. There's going to be, we want answers. In Psalms 143, 6 through 10, it says, I stretch forth my hands unto thee. My soul thirsteth after thee as a thirsty land. Hear me speedily, O Lord, my spirit faileth. Hide not thy face from me, lest I be like unto them that go down in the pit. Cause me to hear thy loving kindness in the morning, for in thee do I trust. Cause me to know the way wherein I should walk, for I lift up my soul unto thee. It's important that we cry out to God, that we ask him for instruction and direction in life. But we have to be willing to ask for help. How often do we see someone struggling, and as a parent or just a friend, and we see them struggling and they don't want help? I don't want people to know my weakness. I'm not going to make it known. But the thing about it is we got to be able to cry out to God and say, God, I need your direction. I need your help. I need you. In verse 9 it says, Deliver me, O Lord, from mine enemies. I flee unto thee to hide me. Teach me to do thy will, for thou art my God. Thy strength is good. Lead me into the land of the upright. I want you to think about that. In the men's devotion yesterday morning, we talked a little bit about the Ten Commandments. Now, what do you think when you hear the Ten Commandments? What's the first thing you could quote about the Ten Commandments? Thou shalt not. Now, whether you go any further than that, you remember that, right? That Bible, that preacher says, thou shalt not. I want you to look at it this maybe in a little different light to those commandments. What if it said, thou shalt not steal so that you don't go to prison? What if it says, thou shalt not kill because you're going to spend a life sentence in prison? Or don't run around on your husband or wife because divorce will tear your family apart for the rest of your life. And you start looking at these things and you're thinking about maybe it's not a thou shalt not, more of a God's trying to prevent us from having a broken heart or being punished for bad actions. See, the way we approach God, the way that we see God is how we live life. And if all we can think about is an old man with a lot of rules that we're never going to be able to follow, we're not going to be able to grow and advance our life and our walk with him. But if we look at him as a loving father that's trying to prevent us from having pain in our life, those rules don't seem so harsh anymore, do they? Because it's someone that's trying to stop us from going a direction we shouldn't go. Whether you're a husband, a wife, or mother, or father, a young adult, wherever you are in your walk of life, God says, let me teach you. Let me guide you. Let me walk with you. How many of you know the picture of the footprints in the sand? And the person gets discouraged because they only see one set of footprints. Right? See, our perspective of our situation right now, sometimes we don't see clearly. And as in that picture, the person is being discouraged and disgruntled because they only see one set of footprints. And God said, that's when I was carrying you. See, we don't sometimes see that God never leaves us. He never forsakes us, even when we aren't very desirable to be around. And he's still willing to pick us up and to carry us in those tough times. It's important that we see that. It's important that we allow God to teach me to do thy will. For thou art my God, thy spirit is good. Lead me into the land of the uprightness. We need led to a better place than most of the time we hang out. Just to be real blunt. See, we can't be upset about the state our life is in if we keep hanging out in the desert. It's hard to have a good life without God. Now, Brandy posted, I don't know if you've seen it, but on Facebook, on our page, what hell doesn't have. And there's a purpose for that. Hell has no light because God is light. Hell has no peace because God is peace and God's not in hell. There is no comfort in hell because God is comfort. And it goes on and on and on of what's not going to be in hell. And honestly, all of the things that we desire, that we need in life, that's who God is. And God said, for you to have it, for us to obtain that, we must have a relationship with him. For us to be the husbands, for us to be the fathers, for us to be the mothers, the wives, the friend that we need to be, we must allow God to teach us how to live. Teach us. Because how do we get along? What does your opinion get you into most of the time? Some of you are kind of giving me a funny look. But what does our opinion, or maybe our mouth, get us into? Trouble. Right? It's easy. How come it's so easy to say something wrong? and we have to think about saying something nice. You know, that's a picture of what's inside. We say this probably way too often, but if you're working on a project at home and you smack your finger with a hammer, do you say praise Jesus? You had a thought came to mind more directly. You had a word come to mind right now, and it wasn't nothing to do with Jesus, right? Just think how close that is to the tip of our tongues when something goes wrong in life. What does character define by? What you do even when people aren't watching. See, it's important that we allow God to guide us and to direct us. I want to turn to 1 Corinthians 13:13. Now this passage, this chapter is the passage of love, and I'm just going to read verse 13. And my Bible says charity, but I'm going to put love in this, but it says, and now abiding faith, hope, faith, hope, and love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. See, it's important that each and every one of us have faith, because if we have true faith in God, that gives us hope. And that hope also helps us to love the way we're supposed to love. Faith, hope, and love. What was the Jesus? What would you explain Jesus? One word to explain Jesus. Love. One word. When he spent 33 years on this earth in his ministry, when he died on the cross for our sins, he demonstrated unconditional love. He showed us how to live. He died for a people that didn't deserve his love. But he loved us anyway. Faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. That's God's grace. We don't deserve to be forgiven. We don't deserve to spend eternity in heaven. But we have a God the Father who loves us so much. His grace. I kind of broke down grace in a kind of a different way. I'll put it this way. Grace in my version is God's redemptive love at the cross that you can have for eternity. That's what true grace is. The sacrifice that Jesus Christ made, when we accept it, it lasts for eternity. Not 30 days, not 90 days, not a year. When we become a child of God, it's for eternity. We get to spend time in a place that has peace, that has love, that's light, that's comfortable for eternity. We celebrate Mother's Day. We think about these things. And we say thank you to the moms. For moms to do what they do, to do the best job they can possibly do. It's because God loves them and has given them that strength and that ability. It's not something to be undermined or underlooked, being a mother. That is something that should be cherished and praised for the hard work and the diligence they do every day. Because that's truly what it is. Especially when we're teenagers and we don't deserve to be loved. Mom loves us anyway. Right? When you need the snot smacked out of you, Mom still loves you. She may knock the snot out of you, but she still loves you. Right? Some of you looking around, whether you're a man or a woman, the way we're going to live life and live it successfully is to have hope, faith, and love. Faith in God gives us hope, and that helps us to love the way we should love. We're going to play an invitation song. If God has spoken to your heart in any way, or you just have something you want to pray about, a concern, this is what this time is for. If you've never asked Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, If you don't know even where to start, find somebody and talk to them, and they will show you. If you just walk down a path that you don't want to be down and you don't know how to get back, God says, I'll be waiting to bring you back with open arms. Whatever your circumstance, whatever struggles you have right now, God, just cry out to him, says, teach me to trust in you. Teach me to allow you to guide me. And that's where it starts. And if we just open that door to God to say, I need you, God says, then I can start molding you into the image I want you to be. The image that we desire to be and need to be. But we got to start the conversation and come to him.